Welcome to the Grammar School podcast. I am Irodotos Christoforou. Today our guest is quite a successful individual in his own field. He's currently a digital transformation and public policy consultant at the Tony Blair Institute. I'm looking forward to listening to your story, sir. Welcome to the podcast.
The one thing I would advise is don't go in when you decide what you want to do, even where you want to work. Start with the objective you want to achieve, or the kind of area you're really passionate about. Don't think about the name. Don't just think, okay, I know these companies that are great and I know they pay well, I want to work there. No, this won't take you far because you may get bored, right? And many jobs may pay really well, but if you just do something that's so mundane in front of you may not be, you not sort of get the satisfaction as an individual that you are looking for. So yeah, first advice is just start doing something that you feel passionate about. Thank you for having me.
I was shocked when I first learned that you were going to be the guest because Miss Camp sent me a story paragraph about your resume and I was really impressed. But before we go into the hot topics, I would like to start off learning a little bit more about your childhood, where you grew up, high school years, and going into the army, a little bit about those years of your life.
Okay, fair enough. Probably not very dissimilar to what most guys have here, but yeah, I grew up in Cyprus. Even though I don't look Cypriot, I am Cypriot. Both of my parents are Cypriot. But yeah, I did grow up being spoken at in German, English, and so wherever I went. So that's my slide story from the past. But yeah, grew up in Cyprus. I went to English school, and yeah, pretty much after that to the army. Back then it was 2 years for boys or for guys, 26 months. Interesting experience, but I think, you learn something. Maybe at the second year we thought that was a bit of a waste of time, but it is what it is. We've done it. And then off to uni. I don't know how much you want me to sort of deep dive of my life before, but
I was hoping to ask you a little bit more about the army, because I'm going to the army as well, and a bit about your mentality at that time.
Yeah.
So did you go into the army hoping of something good? Were you neutral? What did you expect?
I think after high school, I was at that point where I felt I needed a bit of a break, especially after the A-levels and so on. So I was I approached the army thinking, okay, it's a not really a gap year because you're not sort of enjoying yourselves, but it was a break between finishing school and then helping maybe buy some time to decide what to do next. And I can come to that later, but I think there are two kinds of people when it comes to career and studying abroad. One is people who know what they want to do, like, I don't know, you want to be a doctor or you want to be a marine biologist, very, very set in your ways. And then the other camp, probably people like me, where I really like many things, right? So I like science stuff. I like art stuff. I didn't know what to become. So I was, thinking, okay, maybe this time in the army wouldn't necessarily be a waste of time because I can sort of, do some more research, really understand what I want to do, before I apply to university. So that was the mentality I went into it. Okay. I didn't want to make the most of it. So I decided to sort of go through the sort of the officer route. So I passed the exams and I became an officer in the army. So that took me to Greece for 4 months training. And then was known as Dokimos. And then so coming back, I think you spent the rest of the first year was overseeing a number of sort of new recruits and sort of going around Cyprus in different places. And then the second year, it was more relaxing, I would say. And also I was sort of in one of the trainers at the new recruit camps for the next generation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was enjoyable. But yeah, I think I did feel that the second year was a bit of a drag. So I think the fact that you're now going for 1 year is definitely a much more manageable break.
You said before about the decision regarding your degree. You were one of the people that had many likings, let's say. I think you ended up deciding to go as a lawyer.
I wanted to study law. But even when I applied and got accepted at UCL, I was like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this, but I didn't go thinking I will become a lawyer at the end, right?
Okay.
So I was slightly influenced by my dad, who also did a law degree, and then became a legal consultant. But he wasn't really insisting or anything. He was like, okay, it's a good first degree. You can do many things with it afterwards, and so I did. So I enjoyed it. Great time in London, first 3 years. And then I was like, okay, I did a summer internship as well. Which was like, okay, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? Maybe not. So I think the internship helped me decide not to become a solicitor, a lawyer as a career sort of kind of path. So I switched into business. So I did a master's in business administration. Mm-hmm. And effectively sort of that path gave me a lot of tools I could apply in later life. And I think maybe the one thing that took me into the technology direction, having done law and business, was the fact that at that time, when I graduated, it was the launch of the iPhone. Right. And I distinctly remember, maybe in the news or reading something somewhere that said that the computational power in that new smartphone, the new thing back then, has smartphone, right? We had the old Nokia, so I don't know, you probably didn't see those phones, but no big screens and so on. So when the iPhone came out, the news said that the computational power in this iPhone is higher than the power used to send man to the moon in 1969, right? I think that was the year, I'm not sure. But anyway, so like, okay, cool. So these things happening around us. Technology is now providing things in your pocket that can really transform your lives. Maybe it's an area that, I would find sort of interesting given the fast, so how fast things were moving in that space. So that took me into, thinking about how can I combine law, business, and so on. And I got a job at the UK regulator on media and telecoms regulator, whose function or primary function is and was to sort of regulate developments around technology and including obviously mobile access and so on. So yeah, that's where I was initially sort of embedded and introduced to all good things about technology, good, bad, how to regulate it, how to incentivize, companies and businesses to invest so that people can access internet and mobile telephony, in areas where, let's say, is less easy or less, financially, sound to invest in. So yeah, that was, my first step into this world. Very UK focused though, I would say. So, I think again, maybe I'm fast forwarding, but again, thinking back in my 20 years of working life, the one thing I would advise is don't go in when you decide what you want to do, even where you want to work. Start with the objective you want to achieve, or the kind of area you're really passionate about. Don't think about the name. Don't just think, okay, I know these companies that are great and I know they pay well, I want to work there. No, this won't take you far because you may get bored, right? And many jobs may pay really well, but if you just do something that's so mundane in front of you may not be, you not sort of get the satisfaction as an individual that you are looking for. So yeah, first advice is just start doing something that you feel passionate about. And then try to sort of find ways that can take you to that sort of that point where you'll be able to say, okay, I was keen to do that, I've tried that, and I either didn't like it, so I can switch now, or I really like it, therefore I want to sort of investigate or explore that kind of topic or area in more detail. So I think in that kind of spirit, after my 5-year stint at Ofcom, the UK regulator, the opportunity arose to sort of zoom into the mobile space, which was the thing that took me into that sort of area in the first place. So I got a job at the Global Mobile Industry Association, called GSMA. I don't know how much you've heard about the GSM sort of. So basically, if you think about your phones as walkie-talkies, the reason you can talk around the world is because they use the same sort of frequencies, but also standards, right? And that's the GSM standard. So literally all the mobile companies in the world are part of this association that I got a job at. And the objective was to, first of all, make all the standards interoperable, so that when you have a phone in Cyprus and you can travel to the US or China, you can call and receive calls without having to buy more SIM cards or change phone. Back then was a thing, now it's not a thing. So now it doesn't resonate because you wouldn't necessarily find this problem.
Rewinding back, all the podcasts that I have done, I like to link questions specifically to the guest to social issues. So regarding Cyprus, we must say that we are a conservative society. And especially a few years ago, someone who would not follow his degree, maybe he would have some negative output, maybe from his family, friends, maybe. How were you? So you said your father. Did your father advise you to do what you wanted, or did he say, no, you study law, you will do law?
Yeah, no. No, he didn't. And I think that's part of the advice I give to many students, because I also do career mentoring abroad as well. But the key advice is try to resist being told by your parents what to do, especially when you have a family business. It may be great. And obviously, I'm not going to say, don't follow your family business. But if you do feel passionate about trying something new, or at least exploring what's out there before you go back to your family business or your family office, I would definitely encourage all students to do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure parents will be understanding to their children exploring options before sort of being shoehorned into a specific kind of career path. Now, so to your question, quick answer is no. My parents advised me, but would never expect me to either do law in the first place or follow through after I've done my degree. I think I owed it to myself and to them to try and understand better what it means to be a lawyer. That's why I did the summer internship. Mm-hmm. I referred to, but I think they were all very understanding and respectful of my decision to sort of kind of switch directions. But law is a really strong degree, regardless of what people decide to do with it.
So going back to the degree, so in general, you believe your degree helped you?
Yes.
In your sector?
Absolutely.
You wouldn't do anything different, or do a different degree, let's say?
No, I really enjoyed it. It's a really strong degree. I think I always thought of a law degree as giving you the way to understand rules, but also why rules are needed in any context. Mm-hmm. And again, looking at what I'm doing now, how, let's say, AI, artificial intelligence is sort of taking over our lives and impacting so many sectors. In the absence of rules and policies, AI can and could be really deadly. And that's how I think the capabilities of artificial intelligence right now could be detrimental. But because there are laws and regulations and ethics and sort of guardrails in what companies and governments can do with AI, that's why we are where we are, and we're taking a more sort of a slower but cautious approach into using it. But yeah, the world has not seen the end of AI at all, which is the beginning. So yeah, back to the law. I think understanding law and regulation is crucial in any kind of sector, whether it's healthcare, whether it's aerospace, or pretty much anywhere. So that was a strong degree. And then on the business sides, I guess it's about how do you make things financially sustainable? How do you make investment decisions that make sense? And A, you don't waste your money, or B, it makes you think about a longer term plan, so that when you decide where you're going to invest, or where you want to sort of advise others to invest, you always get a sense of, or the business degree helps you, have the right building blocks and sort of steps to allow you to think in a way that is more financially sustainable.
So you said before, this is not the end of AI. It's not it's just the beginning, let's say. So there are two sides of the coin. The first, which is the easier, let's say, artificial intelligence creates efficiency. But on the other hand, there's only one word that I can describe it: unemployment. What's your opinion? Do you believe artificial intelligence can be deadly, can be harmful to us in terms of unemployment, or is it other issues that we should be considering, let's say?
In the short term, AI will replace several jobs where the task is quite mundane, or either very research oriented, or call centers, or people who just answer the phone and answer a question. All of those jobs will be transitioning towards AI agents and AI software and solutions, for sure. So yes, there will be an unemployment kind of boom or issue or challenge in the short term, I think, as people realize that it's much more cost efficient to use AI agents. However, what this will do is sort of help individuals, and I think students like your age are at the right time, they're at that point of their lives, to think about, okay, if this is happening, what are the kind of sectors that will be booming in the coming years, and therefore sort of shift your mindset and your interest towards that kind of space. So anything to do with understanding and prompting AI will be booming, in my view, as one big sector there, in every sector. And I'm going to talk about healthcare, manufacturing, everything around that. And then the other big sector that I see through my current sort of role is booming is anything to do with the planet and climate change. So those sectors, I think, will be transformative.
Again, in regards to AI, a few days ago, I asked ChatGPT about Cyprus. And I asked it, how do you see Cyprus in 5-10 years? And I was expecting for AI to tell me something about the tourist sector. And it answered me that Cyprus is trying to become a tech hub. So with your knowledge and your expertise, does Cyprus have the capabilities of becoming a tech hub?
Can I answer the slightly different question first?
All right.
So first of all, sort of because now in my current role, I advise many governments. And the one thing I try to stress is that when it comes to AI, imagine AI as a big robot, right? Or a big computer. What you get out of that big computer has a lot to do with what data you feed it, right? So in the absence of specific trusted sources, if you just ask ChatGPT or any other AI engine a solution without telling it where to look for the answers before it thinks about what comes out, it would look at the internet as a whole, right? So the internet, so you have to be slightly cautious when you talk about, when you ask a question without giving a direction to the sources or what to look for before they analyze and give you a decision. So if you got that response, it means ChatGPT looked at recent articles, recent sources around maybe the government's plans to sort of turn the island into a tech hub and so on. So that's one slightly tangential point. So that's a very, very good saying, a very frequent saying in the space, which is GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So if you feed wrong data, you get wrong insights and wrong outputs. Now, with regards to Cyprus prospects, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how to put it. I don't really deal with Cyprus as a region. Sort of, I'm working currently in about 20 countries, but Cyprus is not yet a country that I'm working in, so I can't tell what the government's plans are on or how sort of implementable they are. However, what I know about Cyprus is that we do have high penetration of mobile smartphones, 100% coverage of internet, fast internet, high GDP. We've got the expertise and the places to attract students, whether it's universities or people to move their companies, because the business environment is quite attractive in terms of incentives that they provide for foreign businesses. So just by knowing that, I would say yes, Cyprus has the prospects to become a tech hub. Maybe there are quite a few things that, as a newcomer to Cyprus, I think people will struggle in terms of bureaucracy. Because it's one thing to say, yeah, come Cyprus and you've got low corporate tax regimes if you bring your company here. But then when you come here, you have to go through literally, tons of paperwork. The funny story there is when I went to the customs office when I moved last year, they asked me to print all these proofs that I lived abroad and I'm now coming to live here and so on. And I was like, I've got everything in PDF. Can I send it to you? No. It's only printouts. So I went with 2 box files like this to the customs officer. Like, look, I killed 2 forests to be here. So yeah. So tech hub, tech island, and then printing out. So there's somewhat a bit of a paradox, but so there is scope for the island to digitalize many of its processes, especially when it comes to government and bureaucracy. But yeah, I think the prospects are promising.
Before you said that you worked in more than, I think in your resume it says more than 50 countries.
Yeah, overall, yeah, 60 plus.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you because generally, if an individual works abroad, in most cases it's because he went to university abroad. In most cases. And as countries develop, for example, Italians they go to Italian universities. The Americans stay in America. Same with the British. Would you advise an individual to seek to go abroad? Not only for university, but especially to work and to learn more cultures, meet new people?
I mean, if someone is fortunate enough to be able to afford, or their family is fortunate to afford, send them abroad, or if they can sort of apply for scholarships in the absence of family means, then clearly I would say that, because going abroad opens up your horizons and lets you see people, cultures, and ways of living that you don't see in Cyprus. And actually, even coming back here, I see how, in many respects, how narrow the views are in Cyprus on the cultural aspect as well. So yeah, quick answer is absolutely. I would definitely advise people to study or work or travel abroad as much as possible, and be open-minded. Be open-minded in what they seek to absorb. Because again, you just being abroad doesn't mean much. You need to be curious and want to learn from. I mean, I've had many classmates of mine back from school that went to London, studying in London, rarely went out of London, and then after they finished the degree, they came back, right? So, okay, it was a good 3-year degree, but you need to explore. You need to sort of maybe give yourself a couple of years of do an internship or even a a lower paid kind of role just to allow yourself to see how it is to work in a different country and be exposed to ways of living and ways of working, mentalities, abroad, whether it's UK or elsewhere.
What did you learn? Especially something that you didn't expect that you would gain from working and collaborating with so many different nations and people.
I think, again, just to be a slight sort of point, I think my first job only allowed me to work in the UK. So, including Scotland and Northern Ireland and so on. But when I had my second job, that's when I was exposed to international development and being able to travel a lot, advise companies and governments in different nations. And that's when I was truly exposed to, first of all, a new kind of job that I would never have imagined in Cyprus, because I didn't know anyone who did this. So I was like, okay, it's doctor, lawyer, accountant, and so on. So just by being abroad and working abroad, I was exposed to these kind of opportunities. And then I really enjoyed that, because I enjoy traveling, enjoy learning, and being exposed to new things and insights as a starting point. Others may don't. So, I think just because I'm like that and I enjoy doing that, I thought, okay, I want to do this and sort of zoom in into a topic, but being able to travel and allow me to see the impact of what I advise in different countries. But the quick answer is that no single nation is the same. And I'm not talking about just architectures and culture. People are very different. The way they approach things is different. I discovered that we as Cypriots and Greeks are very much alike culturally to Latin Americans, surprisingly. Many friends and colleagues from Peru, Chile, Brazil, and I feel that we're closer in terms of culture to them than many Europeans, even British, right? So that's one thing I've learned by traveling. I've been traveling to Africa as well. History in Africa obviously left its mark on people and their approach to how they see more white populations. Advising them is kind of you can see the historical influence there, but it's a nation that is eager to progress. So again, I really enjoy working in Africa because the impact is huge, and I can give you examples later of how we helped see the impact on people's lives, on daily lives. But yeah, I think, to your question, I think if someone is curious and really interested in understanding and living with other cultures, other people, it's definitely worth sort of seeking opportunities to allow you to travel.
Regarding Africa, you said about historical influences, they're trying to develop themselves. So what's pulling them back? Is it the possibly European influences that's over-exploiting the African people? Is it this? Is it just corruption from domestic? What is it?
I think it's all of the above. There is a lot of progress. Some African nations are doing much better than others. Rwanda, Kenya, South Africa, for example. I don't know how much you're exposed to different nations in Africa, but definitely there is corruption. There's a lot of influx of foreign funds and donor funds in Africa. So lots of money brings corruption and brings sort of vested interests. Lots of geopolitics happening with Chinese investments, India investments, US investments. If you're a poor nation and you've got China saying, get my cloud data center for free, and the US company saying, okay, you pay X million, who are you going to go with? Mm-hmm. Right? So lots of geopolitics happening in Africa, very fast developing, and lots of opportunities in Africa, regardless of where you are.
You said about geopolitics. I didn't think of asking you this, but geopolitics, one name comes to mind, Trump. Mm-hmm. So what he's doing now, he's increasing the tariffs, he's decreasing the tariffs.
Yeah.
How does this, let's say, unpredictable behavior affect jobs and generally businesses worldwide?
Well, I mean, you answered the question. It does. I mean, what I'm closer to in terms of U.S. geopolitics is the fact that Trump effectively disbandled U.S. aid, which is the international development arm, or was the development of the U.S. So that was the department that was tasked with giving money abroad and funding different projects, especially in Africa. So all the projects, big projects that U.S. aid was funding and managing have been sort of cut overnight. So it's not just the Americans working for U.S. aid, but also the countries receiving U.S. aid funding were left overnight with no support. So obviously that had implications, and to this day has implications on development agendas in Africa and beyond. But yeah, it's not just the US. I mean, most countries have geopolitical interests in pushing their own products or mentalities just to gain soft power.
Now, transitioning from this, I really like psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you are a consultant, you advise, and when you advise, you need to build trust. And I believe psychology plays a huge role in building trust.
Absolutely.
So tell me, what is the correct way? It's different for each client, I'm sure. What is the correct way to build trust with a client or a government body, whatever?
So I will answer in the context of what I do now. Mm-hmm. So I work in my current role. I work for the consulting entity set up by the previous UK Prime Minister, Tony Blair, and the entity I work for only advises governments at the top level. So presidents, prime minister, ministers. Mm-hmm. We rarely go below that. So when it comes to trust, for a minister or a president to trust your advice, you need to earn it. And to earn it, you need to show results elsewhere. And you need to go in without an agenda. So you need to go in being impartial, being open to understanding the client's problems and their cultural issues, their political context and financial sort of capabilities. So you wouldn't, we don't recommend the same policy approaches to a country in Africa or Latin America that we would do in Europe or, a rich Asian nation, for example, right? So first thing is, go with an open mind, understand the client, understand where they're coming from, understand the problem, and help them open their vision, sort of, look at things in a different way. Because sometimes, especially with AI now, right? So they may think, I've got problem X and I feel the solution is Y, but that's because I haven't been exposed to solution Z that can be achieved with AI or other means. So a successful consultant is one that helps a client, understand the art of the possible in different ways, and then help them, based on where they are, help them achieve or go to where they want to go in a way that's realistic and achievable using their own means. Mm-hmm. Not expect them to sort of get huge loans from the World Bank or so on.
When communicating with either private sector or public sector, and because especially in Cyprus, that's why I'm asking, there's quite pessimism about the public sector. They are slow, they don't really care. How do you see this in other countries as well? Is the private sector really actually the one that drives the economy forward, or does the public sector also play a huge role?
By and large, the private sector is always quite ahead of the public sector. So, however, there are governments that are progressive and they embrace public-private partnerships and they work with the private sector to advance. And that's the countries we see being the most successful when it comes to the use of technology to digitalize, modernize a nation, modernize ways of governing. And especially what I do now is helping governments modernize the way they deliver public services. So moving away from that bureaucracy, stack of papers, to do things on your phone remotely. So in the same way you order a pizza on your phone, you should be able to, and you can do that when it comes to public services right now. And the specific topic I'm working on is all about that. How do you use, or how can you use your phone and your digital wallet to prove who you are and to show eligibility to a benefit, to receive a benefit on your phone, or to apply for renewal of your passport or national ID card, or, so all these things that currently involve lots of bureaucratic and, queuing and getting paper tickets to wait for your turn and so on. All those things can be really reimagined and done digitally. So Cyprus has still where to go, but to your question, the private sector innovations and solutions allow governments to modernize themselves. But you need the top level buy-in. So presidents has to be bought in, so that he or she can tell the ministers, or empower the ministers to deliver. So you've got the political will, and you've got to have a conducive policy environment, not just words, but actions. And the mentality and the cultural sort of appreciation that you need to work with the private sector to get things done, and not just see them as a cash cow and tax them. Because many governments see business as a place, the thing to tax and get tax revenue and become richer. But that's not what a progressive government should be doing.
Okay, so you talk about digitalization and you talk about policies and smart use of data. So how can this be dealt efficiently and professionally, let's say, to deal with problems like poverty, let's say?
So I've dealt with many projects when it comes to digitalization of data and processes to deal with poverty specifically. Mm-hmm. Classic example is, I give you an example in Malawi. Malawi is a very poor country in Africa, and we help them. I worked on big projects where we help them leverage, first of all, disperse digital identities on their phones, and create a platform through which people could verify who they are and that they're eligible for a poverty kind of allowance or benefit using their phones, and then opening up mobile bank accounts on their phones by proving who they are using their digital identity, and then receiving the social welfare benefit on their phones in a number of minutes, maybe a day, something that took weeks before. Because especially if you have to travel to the city center from a village in a rural location, they have to stop working, take a bus, bring a witness, pay for the witness food, lose a whole day's wages, go to the city center, go through a number of offices and fill in forms, go back and then be called a week later to come back again. So huge process and bureaucratic, just to apply for a benefit and receive the benefit. So, and then we transform that into a process that could be done in minutes over a phone from their home. Similarly, other examples I've worked on were in the context of maternity payments. So when governments have a policy to give out a cash allowance to a new mother, many countries, including in developed nations, they use this bureaucratic process where they have to sort of expect the new mother and the new father to get a paper from the hospital, and they go somewhere and take it, prove who they are with paperwork, and again wait days to receive the benefit for the newborn. But now we worked on several projects where all these things can be done. Literally, the nurse, the midwife, can send a text to a number to confirm that she was supporting a birth, and then inputting the parents' details on the text. And then within minutes, the parents will get confirmation, and then the payment will go into their accounts. So again, it shows how technology with minimum spend can make processes very efficient and can make sure that individuals can receive money where they need to very quickly and very efficiently.
I'm going to persist with technology and ask you about improving the quality of life of an individual. So, correct me if I'm wrong, you currently work at the Tony Blair Institute, but you said you moved in Cyprus.
Yes.
So you work from your phone or from
my laptop and my screens, yeah. And I travel, yeah.
So will it be actually easier for us as we move on to the future to work flexibly with flexible hours?
Yes. I think this was one of the, I would call it positive outcomes of COVID, because during COVID, people had to work at home, right? So lots of offices didn't close, but basically told their employees, we're not supposed to meet, so stay home, work from home across the world. And this is over 2 years. So yes, it was tough for families with kids as well to be at home with 2 kids. They can't go to school, you can't go to work, they have to work in the kitchen or in another room, so on. So, but what people and employers saw at the end is that, okay, things can happen remotely as well. You don't need to be in the office. So because of that, many companies, including my own, I used to be a full-time employee at the same entity. But because for family reasons, we thought maybe it's worth trying to work out of Cyprus. They were open to this idea. So they allowed me to change my contract into a consultant and work out of Cyprus. So I've been doing that for a year and a half now. And we'll have video calls with both my colleagues, my team members, but also clients while I'm in Cyprus. And then I travel as needed, maybe once a month. I'm on a plane.
Tell us a bit in more detail, what do you do every day? What's your daily routine? And I'm especially eager about your working hours.
Yes.
So tell us a bit more about that.
So because I don't have a day that is the same. There's no routine, right? Because if my clients are in the US, I have later calls. If they're in Australia or in Asia, I have to do early calls because it's late there. But by and large, I tend to start at about 10:30 in the morning. So that gives me time to take my kids to school, maybe go to a gym for a bit, play tennis. Something I missed, and I didn't do much in the UK, but being here allows me to do that in the morning. But the downside is that I work later in the evening, maybe until 7:30. But working from home, I've got my office at home, allows me to have a break when my kids are home, so I can see them when they're home, maybe have dinner together, and then maybe go back to work to do a few emails. And so it's more flexible in terms of my daily routine. Even though it's not a routine, it's an environment that allows me to have that flexibility and spend more time with my kids. But it does mean that having an international role and a job that I have to travel. So it's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because you explore new places and new cultures, keeps things interesting. But yeah, it means for those days or that week, I'm not with the family. So that's the pros and cons.
Okay, looking at your career and resume, it's very clear. I can read here, Tony Blair Institute, UN, World Bank. What traits does someone need to have to evolve in the industry you are working in? Because I am sure it's not just hard work that the social media, especially in social media, we always see just work hard every day.
No.
Is it? I'm sure it's not just that.
It's not just that. No, you need to be curious and open-minded. And this has nothing to do with what you study. And this is an important point to stress because in Cyprus, I recall living in Cyprus and thinking or being brainwashed that what you study at university will determine the rest of your life. Not at all. And if you go to the UK, you see people, studying, I don't know, from usually anything. It could be marine biologists, it could be psychology, it could be economics, and then end up doing something quite different because they do the degree to get a degree, right, and show that they went to uni. But all employers are interviewing someone based on their merits and the ability to do a job, not what they studied necessarily. Maybe with the exception of becoming a doctor, for example, right? But it's and the other places I've worked at, including Tony Blair Institutes now, I've got colleagues who studied all sorts of degrees. Because there's so many different practices within a consulting firm. You've got ex-doctors, you've got economists, you've got people who did sort of any science stuff, languages. So the point is, you've studied something and then you want to move on, do something else. You can in many sectors. So what you need is curiosity and having an idea of what you want to do that makes you happy, right? And that keeps you interesting, and you wake up in the morning thinking, okay, today I'm excited because I'm going to do X at work, not treat the job as a paycheck. Because if you do that, then you sort of condition yourself to go somewhere for 8 or 9 hours, waste your day just to get a paycheck, right? So you need to enjoy what you do. I work a lot with teachers who love what they do, in terms of the education sector, given that we're here as well. And I work with ministries of education in 4 countries at the moment, trying to help them explore the use of AI in the classroom, right? And the use of what we call digital skills wallets. And, you can see their eyes sparkling when you talk about personalized learning, being able to, if you have a class of 30 students, being able to sort of understand really quickly the gaps and even the modalities of training, of learning of a student, and using AI tools to help them catch up, right? And AI can do this really well. So it does not mean making the teacher unemployed. You're just empowering them with the tools to do their job better. And that's what technology does, to your point about unemployment earlier. So my point is, even if you enjoy doing a job, and whether it's a teacher or something else, being open and curious about how something or a tool, technology can help you do your job better is a good thing. Rather than just think, oh, I'm afraid of AI because it might replace my job. So that's the pessimistic sort of approach to looking at things. So in all kind of jobs or existing jobs as well, I always advise folks to sort of really think hard about how they can leverage what's happening, what's out there, what's coming, to make themselves and their skills stand out, rather than just think about, okay, I'll lose my job, so might as well, do the bare minimum. So being optimistic, being curious, and proactive, I would say.
Now, I want to talk, because I know you are a career mentor, and I came up with a survey statistics, I don't remember clearly, that there's a higher chance of becoming economically successful, not if you are an employee, not if you are an athlete, because I am an athlete, that's why I will always remember this statistic. It's when you are a business, when you open a business. Okay, so my question to you is, would you advise the youth to start a business at an early age because they have time to make mistakes? Or would you advise them to work somewhere, gain some experience, and then open that business?
It's a good question, but ultimately depends on personalities and attitude towards risk. Okay. So, working, especially founding a startup, requires a lot of mental, I wouldn't say strength, but your approach to risk has to be quite high, because you need to be prepared to fail, learn from your mistakes, and go back to the drawing board. So just saying, okay, the private sector by and large will pay better in terms of salaries if you are at the entry stage than the government. There are many government jobs that are senior that pay better than private sector as well. So it depends how you look at things. But it also has to do with your approach and your personality and approach to what you want to get out of your daily routine. And a lot of the people I meet in government are people who actually want to make change, impact change. And if you are in government, your policies or the way the decisions you make, you can see them resulting into change into people's lives. And that drives them, the fact that they can do that. Whereas many jobs in the private sector may pay more, especially if you're in the Big Four. Okay, you're an accountant in the Big Four, you get paid well, but you're going to be in a PC screen and doing someone else's accounts. Is that impactful? So, I'm just, using one example, but the point is, I wouldn't put business and government as black and white, because it's to do with impact. What drives you? Is it just money, or is it just, waking up and knowing that you've done something good and you've changed someone's life? And then if you're driven, and, I also, something that I want to do, but I never had time to do, is maybe do a startup that sort of helps develop something that helps, that addresses a problem that exists in the market, right? But I understand and I accept that I don't have, let's say, the programming or coding skills to do something linked to what my idea is. So if and when I have time, I may have to sort of search for the right people with the right skills, and together we can do a startup to do that. But I haven't had the time to do that. So, and I'm not at the point where I would say I will stop what I'm doing now to try this, right? So it also has to do with your where you are in life. What are your responsibilities? Clearly, someone with children and family may be less risk averse than someone who starts anew after uni. So yeah, I think that the point is, yes, go in business if that drives you, and if you know what kind of areas you want to focus on. But my advice is, don't just go for the name and for the paycheck. Think about what you want to do really.
A new question has been born while talking to you. I want to talk about humbleness, and I will explain now. Something common between sports and business is when you are trying to evolve, many people make the mistake of becoming arrogant and thinking, I'm the best. Nobody can tell me anything to positively affect me. I know better than everyone. And I wanted to ask you, how much did you learn from coworkers? And it's very important to be humble, to understand that I can learn something from you. Absolutely. You can improve me.
Absolutely. And that's one thing you gain by trying different places. So not just going into one job and staying there with the same team. So moving around just to be exposed to not just new areas, but new people and learning from them. Absolutely. So fully agree is humbleness, curiosity, and looking at people as someone with knowledge that you can glean from, not someone that you know better than, right? Because every person you meet will know something you don't know, or be an expert in something that you are not. So you need to have that kind of mind perspective to want to learn from any colleague that you meet. Colleague, subordinate, and also someone above you, your boss or further up. One of the things when people ask me about the TBI, they ask me what's good about it and what's different to other consulting firms advising governments. And I say that proximity to the boss, Tony Blair himself, is for me a huge benefit, because he's very visible. He comes to us every day if he's not traveling. We hold town hall meetings every week, and he's there in the kitchen of the office, talking about his week, his office, his travels, what he learned by meeting the president of X country, and so on. So it's like reading The Economist or watching, 10 hours of news channels in 1 hour of being with the boss, right? So, you're just exposed to so many new insights and information just by hearing someone who who has done great things, right?
That was quite a good answer. I want to ask you now, from your resume, I keep repeating this, from your resume, you evolved into a very high, let's say, place in your career. I will put it like that. Is it difficult to find motivation if you are so successful in your sector? Do you have other goals to keep you mentally sane, let's say?
I think you know when it's time to move on when you are no longer learning, or if the role becomes too repetitive and too mundane, you know it's time to move on. Luckily for me, I've reached a point where, because I work with so many different countries, the problem statement is something different in every case. So I don't get bored. And I am the kind of person that if I get bored, I lose interest, right? So, again, there are people who prefer the kind of routine, knowing it's a 9-to-5 job. They know what to expect, and it's perfectly fine. There's no reason to be, to not be like that. It's fine. But I just can't. I need to sort of do something different, right? So that's why I sought a job that allows me to have all these different experiences.
Okay, we're slowly coming to the end, but before, I want to go back to the youth. So it is very important when advising the youth, you would agree with me as well, is for them to have a correct image about their priorities.
Yeah.
For example, should I just focus in the academics? Should I try to balance it with extracurriculars? If I am at an age, maybe 20 years old, I'm in university, should I think of startups?
Yep.
So what do you advise them to focus on, let's say?
As someone who has been interviewing lots of children, also children graduates and so on, but also mentoring university graduates as well, the one thing an employer or someone recruiting into a job has to do is compare many CVs before they even invite people to an interview, right? So having someone that stands out as curious and, someone who's tried different things in their lives would definitely add more brownie points in terms of, making that CV and resume stand out before they're invited to an interview. So whether it's trying startups, whether it's the council of the school, whether it's sports, any other extracurricular activity that people do shows to the employer or the recruiter that this is a person that is able and willing to try new things, dedicates themselves and their time, and just shows that it's he or she is likely to be a better fit in a role that requires agility and commitment. So I think that's probably what I can offer from my experience.
To be honest, my questions are all answered.
Okay.
I would like to believe that I will remember this day. It was actually my first time I was doing a podcast in English. So I was kind of, I was thinking, will I be good? Will I be okay? Will I be fluent? So it was great talking to you. I was amazed about a lot of things. I would like to thank you for coming today here. It was a great initiative by Ms. Cam. I would like to thank the school for giving us the space. Yes.
Well, so thank you for having me. By the way, your English is perfect. And just to plug Elena Bandazi and A Day in the Life. So she's the lady who sort of created this initiative, allows us to sort of go to various schools and offer our experiences, some career development advice, and so on. And we've been doing that since. Well, I've been part of the team since I moved to Cyprus 18 months ago. But I think continue what you do. It's a great initiative as well, and hopefully students hear and listen to the podcasts. But thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Thank you for being here. All right.
Excellent. Thank you.